Hello friends, welcome back. I am Vivekanandan. Whenever a person wants to start a new business, normally the general advice they used to get from friends and family is why start a new business now? Why venture into an unknown territory? It is you already have a very good stable job. Just stick with it. This might be the normal advice a person usually receives whenever he or she wants to start a business. But the person who really wants to build a new business, build some great products, who is very passionate about building new products, wants to become an entrepreneur, what he or she does is they just jump into this new territory and start the business. What they do is they would have been very sincere and committed to the work, and they would have put in hours and hours of hard work, really slogged it down. But in spite of so much of commitment, after building the product, there might be a time where nobody will buy that particular product, and what that person might think is all the advice which we got from others has now become true, which is why did I start a business in the first place? The business would have actually faced a huge failure now. And this particular book, Lean Startup, written by Mr. Eric Ries, gives you a lot of ideas, suggestions, and principles to avoid this kind of pitfalls. And how does he do that? The author shares his own experience in giving a very good advice in building a stable and a successful business. So in this book, he starts by giving his own real life experiences. The author had actually started two business, and the first business was a massive failure. He gives an analogy comparing it to a Hollywood film in a scene where, he and his co-founder during night, standing in the middle of the road when it is heavily raining, both of them were fighting each other, blaming each other because they were responsible for the loss the business is facing. So the business was not a big successful business, no sales, nothing, and they had to close down the business, and they parted ways, standing in the middle of the road fighting between each other. And after some time, what the author had done is he had started his second business. It is named as IMVU. This is a business which is supporting instant messaging platform with new kind of images. In other words, he call it as avatars. So what had happened is while building this time he had a very strong team, solid foundation, enough capital, and they were all building, putting a lot of hours together, working, coding, and doing and trying to build a great product. And they had actually announced the product launch on this. The product launch will be done on this particular day. And when the day was coming near and near, he was having a lot of fears inside. But fortunately, what he did was he did not postpone the launch date. The fear was, what if we garner a lot of negative reviews? What if people make fun of us? What if people tease us? So those were the thoughts which were running in his mind. What if people think bad reviews about his product? But fortunately he launched the product on that same date, and what had happened is he did not receive any negative reviews, no bad reviews, nothing happened. None of his fears came true, because the author says that there were no takers for our product, nobody bought our product. The point here is it was such a massive failure. So what the author did was he sat down, thought what are the things which has gone wrong and how he could have corrected it, and he corrected it, and now IMVU is a successful $1 million company. So through this experience of building, how did he build it? He comes out with a lot of suggestions, ideas, real life examples, and principles which can be applied uniformly across different domains, different businesses, and can make the business a success. To start with, the first principle he is mentioning over here is something called as validated learning, which is validate your business during every step. For example, organic products are fashionable the world over. In fact, organic products provide a lot of health benefits. For example, you want to launch an organic restaurant where you want to give cakes made out of wheat, dosas made of ragi, and different kind of various organic items. And what happens is the person invests a huge sum of money, recruits a lot of people, right from the cook, buys a lot of vessels, utensils, materials, everything, and makes a splashy launch for the organic restaurant and open the restaurant and wait for the customers, and only later find that no customer actually came up, and the very few customers who actually came up did not like the product they were serving. So how do you avoid this situation? The author says that validate it every step by step. For example, just make those organic stuff, the food products, in a very small number. Just give it to your family members, test it, and then give it to your neighbors, and then give it to new customers. Get a lot of feedback, and then implement it in a big scale so that you avoid huge losses. This is an example which I gave, but the author gives a lot of examples in the book. For example, he quotes Zappos. Zappos, the founder of Zappos, he wanted to build a very successful online e-commerce platform, but the founder, what he did was, instead of directly buying a lot of products and putting it for sale online, what he did was he went to many shoe shops. So he went to all the shoe shops, he took a photograph of all the shoes and promising that he will come back later and buy it at the full price. So he was able to take photographs of all the shoes. He started his online portal, put the pictures there, and he was looking for customers. And when customers started buying their shoes, started placing orders for the shoes, only then what he did was he went to those shops, bought the shoes, and then started offering it at discounted prices. So he built it very small, validated it every step, and slowly after shoes he ventures into different areas, and finally builds a very successful online e-commerce platform, which at one point of time Amazon bought it for more than $1 billion. So this particular step of validating every step by step and building your business slow but very steady is something called as validated learning. But then how do you do that? How do you do that is you have to come up with a minimum viable product. And what is this minimum viable product? For example, today iPhone has come up with this 11th edition, which is iPhone 11. But iPhone did not but Apple did not wait for building iPhone 11 at the first place. They actually built iPhone 3. Right from iPhone 3, once the iPhone 3 was released, once they got a lot of feedback, they were slowly building it the next version, again a lot of feedback, the next version, and that is how they have reached this particular position, which is iPhone 11. So just build a minimum viable product, release it to the market, get some new customers, get a lot of feedback, and then try building the product is what the author is suggesting. But then how do you get those kind of people to use that basic minimum viable product? The author says that capitalize on these kind of people who are called as early adopters. So who are early adopters? So we know that the world over there are people who really want to watch movies on the first day, first show. So they don't worry about whether the movie is good or bad. They really want to watch the movie at the first place for the thrill of watching it and for various other reasons. So just capitalize on these kind of people. For example, I have seen when many restaurants were launched in India, there were a huge queue waiting outside on the first day of the restaurant. They could have very easily come on the next day and had food over there, but they did not do that. What they did was they were waiting in a very big queue outside the restaurant for a mile. They were waiting for so long, and why are they doing it? They just want to cherish it, having food at the first day, and then let to know among their friends and peers that they have consumed food there. So these guys are called as first movers or early adopters. The author suggests that capitalize on this particular market. And a few other concepts which the author is explaining over here is pivot. What is pivot? The author says that, for example, many a times the business needs to change direction. One of the example he gives is about a Potbelly sandwich shop. This shop has hundreds of stores and is famous for selling sandwiches. But the story of this Potbelly sandwich shop is they basically started as an antique shop, selling old artifacts, monuments, and so on. But what they did was, just to garner more customers, what they did was they started a small sandwich shop outside that antique museum. And at one point of time, and why did they do that? They want to attract customers for the sandwich shops, and while consuming sandwiches, they will be just looking inside the glass doors and find a lot of different varieties of materials, and they might come in. That is what the original idea was. But slowly, this business was actually having a lot of success with sandwiches, and they ventured and became a successful sandwich shop. The author is not saying that, so it's not suggesting that you have to change direction, a huge direction like this, but there are businesses which will normally take different directions before coming out to the final place. For example, he says that Starbucks, while at the initial stages and all, it would have not been branded as a premium coffee shop. Walmart at the initial stages would have not positioned themselves as at a shop which offers products at a discounted price. All this would happen during the process and not at the beginning. So just be ready to pivot in between and just go ahead. Be ready for that, and that is one very important thing which is speaking about it. And one last thing before we wrap it up is how do you be very fast? The author says that work in batches. What do you mean by batches? For example, you want to send a invitation to envelope for 100,000 people. What you do is, instead of taking, for example, you have four people with you. So normally the process would be one person would be taking up the envelope, another person would be putting the card inside, another person would be sticking the gum, and the next person would be writing down the address. So the author says that this particular process may not work out properly for a startup. A startup, what the person has to do is, all the persons should be taking out a cover, put out the envelope inside, stick it, and write it down the address by themselves, and then send it out and then pack it up. This is a much more efficient process at the early stages of a company, is what he is trying to say. So that after 500 covers, what if you find there are a lot of faults in the envelopes? What if the print is not printed properly in the cards? So he is giving you numerous examples. But why is he coming out with this particular example? Is he compares this with real life principle, which is the lean manufacturing principle learned from Toyota. After the end of the Second World War, Toyota, what happened was, they did not have enough money bandwidth to come out they did not have enough bandwidth to produce cars on a massive scale. They had very little machinery. So what Toyota now did was, Toyota, using a small little machinery, they built parts for manufacturing one car. So after one is over, they went for the next car. So they did not involve in a massive manufacturing where one unit will be producing cars, one unit the engine, one unit the glass. They did not do that. They just built it from scratch, made it very small. One car, production is over, then go for the next one, then go for the next one. At least work in small batches to manufacture a car. So the author throughout the book gives numerous examples like this to build a sustainable and a successful business. And definitely this book is a very useful book for all the entrepreneurs or all the students who really want to become entrepreneurs or who really wants to learn about business. This book is a very important book for them. And the book, it may not be very easy to go to at one stretch because there are a lot of management concepts. It is better that we learn a concept, we read it, we understand it, digest it, implement it, and then go to the next stages. That is how this book can be made much more useful, so that it might be even more enriching experience for you to read the book. So I have also given the link in the description. Please share your thoughts in the comment section. Thanks for watching this video. Have a good day.